this edition of Southern Newsweek. A vaccination push in Dunedin and Otago is a success. A school holiday program in Ashburton includes beekeeping classes. And a Kakanui knife maker demonstrates his skills. Kiore, I'm Melissa Barton. The Southern District Health Board says nearly 10,000 doses of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine were administered in the South during last weekend's Super Saturday. Here in Dunedin, there was a carnival-like atmosphere in the Octagon as people were encouraged to get their first or second jabs.
Music played and barbecues sizzled as injections were given. Provisional numbers from the Southern DHB show almost 7,000 people received their second Pfizer injection on Super Saturday. Another 3,000 got their first jab across the southern regions. Kiore MP Ingrid Leary welcomed the day as a good opportunity for people who may have struggled to schedule their first or second vaccination.
It's great to see so many people down here today, and I think it shows that people want to get vaccinated. Sometimes they just haven't had the time. I know in my electorate there's a lot of people lambing at the moment. They're busy on their farms. It's a bit further to get to some of the clinics. So the Southern DHB's done a great job now in saying, okay, we've got to get the clinics to the people, and that's what today's about.
The goal for Super Saturday was to achieve a 90% vaccination rate among the eligible population. The Ministry of Health says 85% of New Zealanders have now received one dose of the Pfizer vaccine, with 65% of the population now fully vaccinated.
It is a bit of a race against time. I think if we want to keep our collective freedoms, we need to be all getting vaccinated, and it's only going to work with those high numbers, and that's what we need to do. So for anybody out there who hasn't either got their first or second vaccine, do it now, don't wait, now's the time, and then we will be able to continue to have those freedoms that we've had that many other countries haven't.
The Octagon vaccination event was one of 70 sites across the southern region offering vaccinations on Super Saturday. In Dunedin, the South today.
And Super Saturday encouraged over 1,300 people to get vaccinated in Invercargill, while Queenstown and Wanaka saw just over 2,000 people receive vaccinations over last weekend.
Super Saturday vaccination clinics were a success across the wider south, with plenty of people lining up for their first or second jab at places such as the former Mitre 10 store in Wanaka, which has been operating as a drive-through clinic off and on over the past few months.
We've had an outstanding response from the Wanaka population. We've had queues here since half an hour before we were due to open. It's very unusual for Wanaka people to arrive on time, let alone early, so that was great. There's a lot of enthusiasm for getting jabs, and we've seen a lot of people having their first jabs, which is also really pleasing.
Local GP Andrew McLeod says vaccine hesitancy is understandable, but he says the science behind it can be trusted.
I think you've got to be pretty sympathetic to people. There's all sorts of reasons why people can be a little hesitant, and it's not a matter of trying to be authoritarian and argue with people. The more we kind of understand and see that people are allowed to be a bit fearful and sometimes feel just a little bit uncertain, I totally get that. But for me, the science is really clear that this vaccine saves lives, and it's really what we're going to need to do to protect the vulnerable people in our community.
And in Queenstown, people were invited to enjoy their vaccine in the comfort of the TSS Earnslaw, with a free hot drink as an added enticement.
It was great, yeah, really friendly staff. Yeah, real quick. Didn't hurt. Free hot chocolate as well.
In Queenstown and Wanaka, the South today.
There was a buzz of activity in mid-Canterbury last week as a group of children visited a local apiary. The Little Honey Company invited youngsters and caregivers to get suited up and to get up close and personal with their bees.
Surrounded by a hive of little beekeepers.
So we've got two beehives open here. We've got a long beehive in the background, and we've got a conventional Langstroth hive at the front here.
A swarm of junior beekeepers descended on an Eiffel Tin property in mid-Canterbury to learn how beehives work and the process of producing honey.
And the parents too are always quite fascinated with how they work. So it's all about teaching kids and adults how to run their bees and do well with them.
The fledgling business took flight about 3 months ago, Regan Martin and wife Sarah running their own beehives and offering commercial crop pollination. The pair are keen to educate visitors to their operation about how bees contribute to the world.
It's important not to be scared of bees and pollinators and things that are around, because they're very important for the whole ecosystem.
And he says bees don't fly around looking to sting people.
And so that's a tricky one to explain. So I explained it's the same as people pee, they decide not to let their stinger go. And it's important for bees to keep their stinger because they die if they sting. So bees really don't want to sting people, but they will sting in defence.
The couple's young operation is already buzzing, producing a variety of honey types with the help of many thousands of bees. In Ashburton, the South Today.
This weekend's Waitaki Arts Festival will feature a blacksmith demonstrating how to make knives in his forge. Those wanting to take a look are invited to call in at the Smith & Peony workshop in Kakanui, which will be open during the day this Saturday and Sunday.
In the township of Kakanui, along the coast just south of Oamaru, is knife maker William Murray.
I'm a blacksmith knife maker when I can. I'm a carpenter by trade, so when I get the time and have the inspiration, I like to get on the forge and create kitchen knives.
Once Murray has finished forging and shaping his knife, it will be finished with wooden handles carved from oak or fruit trees or even historic timber. He says he was drawn to knife making by the way a piece of hard steel can be reshaped once it's been heated in the forge.
Just the way you can move it. The way if you hit it in the right way, you can pretty much create anything.
Murray says some of his inspiration comes from seeing his father, who was also a craftsman, at work.
Just a bit of his influence, but also looking at other knife makers around the world and watching what they're doing, and it's pretty amazing. It's pretty cool. It's great what you can do with a piece of hot steel and what you come up with in the end.
Murray is set to give demonstrations of his knife making next weekend, working at his father's studio in Kakanui on October the 23rd and 24th. In Kakanui, the South Today.
Coming up after the break on Southern Newsweek, a new sea themes mural is created in Oamaru, and baby trout are released into a Queenstown lake. So see you after the break. Welcome back. A group of half a dozen artists picked up their paintbrushes over last weekend to create a new mural in Oamaru. Based on a seaside theme, the large mural is one of the first to appear in the North Otago town.
Fine weather over the weekend was a blessing for these mural painters in Oamaru. The collaborative outdoor artwork was coordinated by local artist John Wicks, who chose Oamaru's harbour as its theme.
To me, this is a view that I've seen ever since I was a little boy, fishing at the harbour, hanging out down there as a kid, even now, sitting at the Galley Cafe. It's just it's an iconic view.
The North Otago town's well known for its Victorian precinct, but Wicks says this mural was a chance to show off some of the other local attractions.
I think, Oamaru is historic. It's one of the oldest towns in New Zealand. The old buildings, the architecture is a huge part, but I just wanted to step sideways from that and do something else that people can look at and go, hey, that's Oamaru.
The mural was created as part of the Waitaki Arts Festival, with Wicks hoping more will spring up in the future to add some colour to the town.
One thing I feel Oamaru is really lacking, we have so many artists, so many people that want to make things and do make amazing things, but you look around and there's just a lot of bland walls, and we are on a mission now to transform as many walls as we can.
Half a dozen different painters were involved in putting the mural together, being encouraged to enjoy the creative experience.
For a lot of people, this is their first mural that they've done, so they were really scared when going into it. But I said to them, no, look, it'll be a lot of fun. You've all got your own amazing individual skill sets, and I think it'll really work well together. And we did. We've achieved something really cool. It's really bright and really modern, and we can't wait for the next one.
The mural's one of many events in the Waitaki Arts Festival, which is set to run until next Sunday. In Oamaru, the South Today.
Dunedin barber Jamie Siggleko has had more than a close shave with the law. Jailed for 6 years for assaulting a police officer, it was his incarceration that proved a catalyst for change.
Dunedin barber Jamie Siggleko has come a long way since a 6-year term at the Otago Corrections Facility, and his first taste of freedom was a revelation.
Oh, there's no explanation what it feels like. It's like walking into the casino and putting in $2 and winning the jackpot. That's what it feels like. There's no feeling like it.
The 33-year-old had an unsettled childhood, losing his mother when he was 10, and a history of mental illness in his whānau. He says he used violence to gain what he then saw as respect, before gaining mana using hair clippers and discovering a new career.
And so I just wanted to create something that could invite anyone and everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. And I realised that for me, as a barber, I enjoy anyone's company.
While in prison, Siggleko began cutting the hair of fellow inmates, those self-taught skills coming into hot demand. After leaving prison in 2015, he continued engineering training, making trailers in Milton. But his real passion was somewhere else.
So I went over for smoker and I says to the boss, hey, how long do I have to give you for notice? He goes, oh, why, what's going on? I says, oh, look, I think I want to go and be a barber. And he goes, well, you don't have to give me any notice, it's fine.
Cool.
I said, mate, I'm done.
That's cool.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I just want to go. He goes, no, sweet as.
While picking up the odd haircutting job in Dunedin barbers, he continued further training while offering people $10 clipper cuts. One client who worked at Moana House encouraged him to apply for a job there, advising men with similar stories to his.
Went up there within half an hour of me dropping the CV off and had an interview, and probably had about 3 interviews about me and stuff like that. And after the last interview, she emailed me back and offered me a contract.
For the past 3.5 years, he's juggled the haircutting jobs with his role as a support worker.
But yeah, for me, I'm just there I'm in a support role where I guess in a way I can be that lead by example or that person that they can look to. Yes. And say, if he can do it, then I can.
And earlier this year he went official, launching Jamie's barber shop from his Brockville home. The father of 5 says life is full, but not complicated. In Dunedin, South Today.
Tibetan Buddhist monks are keeping busy in Wanaka, constructing a delicate artwork out of coloured sand, known as a mandala. The event is designed to bring a blessing to the local community and those taking part.
With special care and ritual, these Tibetan Buddhist monks are creating an intricate mandala out of colourful grains of sand. The monks were invited south by Wanaka residents as a way of introducing their Tibetan Buddhist culture to the area.
They'll draw an intricate 2D representation of a celestial mansion, is what it is, a celestial mansion of Tara, the female Buddha. And this is both a blessing to the people who see it, a blessing to the countryside and the people around, and an internal meditation for the monks who are doing the work as well.
2 of the visiting monks travelled south from Dunedin alongside others who have embraced the teachings of Tibetan Buddhism. They're collaborating on the painstaking process, grain by grain.
I find the practice, it's both stimulating, calming, and gives you an astounding sense, if you practice well, of how to remain open, friendly, compassionate, but without delusions about permanence. So you know you're going to die, so you study how to deal with death, and you do it in a way that you can accommodate your own passing because you're impermanent, and so is everyone else, and you deal with it calmly.
While the sacred mandala represents the enlightenment Tibetan Buddhists such as Johnson one day hope to achieve, she says a quest for inner peace is not unique.
It's not that Buddhists have any kind of prerogative on these ideas, but any contemplative practitioner, Christian or Muslim or any other religion, can also dive deep into the meditational state and work out what consciousness really is about.
Once complete, the Owaka sand mandala will be ritualistically dismantled by the group. In Owaka, the South Today.
500 juvenile rainbow trout have been released into Moke Lake near Queenstown. While the fish will take a few years to grow to a decent size, Otago Fish and Game says there's plenty released in earlier years, ready for the catching.
A new home for these rainbow trout. Otago Fish and Game Officer Steve Dixon is busy each spring releasing juvenile fish into lakes and ponds such as Moke Lake near Queenstown.
We do this in the spring every year. We bring fish out to Moke Lake and release them. We've also got about another dozen dams and reservoirs around Otago that we release fish into as well.
This week's release consisted of 500 young trout, 200 more than normal. The tiny fish were raised at the McRae's Flat trout hatchery. They'll take a few years to grow to a catchable size, but with stock released at this lake for the last 8 years, it's a popular destination for anglers.
Moke Lake is very popular for fishing, especially in the summer when the dock camp is full. You get a lot of people fishing around the lake edge. The fish that we released today are between 30 and 80 grams, so they would take approximately 1.5 to 2 years old to grow up to a catchable size for the frying pan. But we have been releasing fish into here since 2004, so there are some bigger ones out there to catch.
While the lake provides good conditions for the young fish to grow, the streams into it lack the gravels suitable for laying eggs.
Yep. Moke Lake is a lake that doesn't really have much in the way of spawning, so we just help it along with the release of 500 little fish each year.
The releases are funded from the proceeds of angler and duck hunting licences. Near Queenstown, the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, a Wanaka Transport Museum is supportive of plans for a new film studio, and Polyfest is back but on the internet only. So see you after the break. Thanks for staying with us. The southern region is steeped in the history of the gold mining era, and one place where a visitor can see artefacts from the endeavour to find gold is along the Clutha River at Tuapeka Mouth.
If you travel up the Clutha River, about halfway between Belclutha and Beaumont, you'll come across Tuapeka Mouth, a township well known for its ferry across the Clutha River. Everywhere you look are reminders of the gold mining age, with a 45-minute walk possible along the Tuapeka River, ending up at a historic dam built by the Tamaiti Gold Mining Company.
This was built in 1920. There was an earlier one further up the river, a wooden one in 1907, and they had a turbine there which supplied the power to a sluicing gun to get the gold. When they built this concrete dam in the 20s, it lasted for 20 years or so to provide the water for the flume that went down to the sluicing area, and they got the gold that way.
100 years ago, the water from the dam drove this turbine, which in turn powered sluicing guns as part of their gold mining endeavour. Elsewhere along the river are kettle holes left behind after hard-working Chinese miners dug through the tailings left by European miners in a heartbreaking effort to try and find any gold the Europeans had missed. In Tuapeka, the South Today.
The curator of the National Transport and Toy Museum in Wanaka had dreams of bringing the film industry to the area many years ago. Jason Rhodes is now excited those dreams could be realised, with a major movie park development potentially providing an economic boost for the resort town.
Dream big, take small steps, but most importantly, start. It's a mantra Wanaka man Jason Rhodes believes can create long-lasting opportunities for the resort, as the proposed Silver Lake movie park moves closer.
Look, personally I think it would be a great benefit as a whole, because it's an industry in the past that's been too inconsistent and has been all or nothing, and it's very difficult to run any form of business when it's all or nothing.
Silverlight Studios has proposed a $280 million film studio at Wanaka's Corbridge Estates. The proposal has received fast-track resource consent under the government's COVID-19 economic recovery legislation. National Transport and Toy Museum Curator Jason Rhodes believes it'll bring financial stability to the town.
Hopefully with Silverlight we'll get a more constant, which we can plan and spend, and hire people that are permanently here as opposed to they're here today, gone tomorrow.
Rhodes and his sister Debbie administer a sprawling complex of large hangars and sheds, housing more than 60,000 items, from vintage toys to a host of collectible vehicles and a giant Papa Smurf. He says if and when the studio is fully set up, it'll prompt significant infrastructure upgrades.
An industry needs to be more fluid and keep moving forward as a whole. And I'd like to think with this group that's come to town that we'll see more of that we can all plan, whether it's housing, roading, everything. It's just consistency that we need.
He's confident it'll also have a positive impact on his business.
And I feel even for our business, we'll be able to plan more and know more of what's going on a sort of week-to-week basis. The staffing we can have that's jigged up, that will know what they need, and we can sort of carry on with that.
The museum has been open for more than 20 years, and if Silverlight gets the green light, Rhodes predicts the collection will keep growing. In Wanaka, the South Today.
The sound of haka and waiata is again ringing from the More FM arena at Dunedin's Edgar Centre. Otago's Polyfest is back for 2021, although COVID-19 restrictions have forced this year's event to be audience-free.
Otago Polyfest is as popular as ever, with Dunedin's More FM arena being filled with school groups from across the region. But there's one big change: families and friends can't enjoy the performances in person this year due to COVID-19 restrictions. However, the festival is again being live streamed via the internet to Otago Polyfest's Facebook page, allowing supporters to cheer on the groups from home.
The difference this year is for young people who are used to seeing a big audience, and this year they won't, but what they will see are more cameras. They'll be able to see themselves on a monitor because they'll be able to look at what's happening being live streamed. And so it's that little bit of hype, but reminding them that this can be streamed to the world.
Last year's event had to be cancelled altogether due to COVID-19. That's made the return to stage even more rewarding for groups such as St Joseph's Cathedral School. They've been busy for months rehearsing their online performance for friends and family, so it's just like being there.
I'm sure they're going to really miss having that support with their parents and grandparents and aunties and uncles cheering them on. So yes, I think that they will absolutely miss that part, but they've been so excited for the last 3 months learning their Aito, and after 2 years I'm excited that they're going to be on stage.
This week's event will feature a range of performers, from experienced high school groups to preschools. A team from the Otago Polyfest are ready side of stage to help the smaller stars through their performance.
The best thing is we've got really capable staff, and ECE teachers are really trained well to watch which babies are going to do a bit of a runner or to make sure that they're safe on stage. So we've just got extra hands in our bubble to make sure it works well.
Otago Polyfest is now in its 28th year, and while entries are about half the usual numbers, there's still more than 60 school groups taking part in celebrating Pacific culture.
It is more than just kapahaka here. This is a long time partnership right from the very outset, where we have lots of Pacific performances as well. And it is Niuean Language Week this week, so whakalofalahi atu, and we will see lots of groups celebrate that as well. So yeah, I think that being involved in the arts has a lot of protective factors for young people, and I think that's what we also uphold.
Te mauri o tēnei ahure a kāputa ki te whai au ki te ao māra mauhi,
The festival runs each day until Friday, with a special evening session on Thursday night featuring high school performances. In Dunedin, the South Today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Like and subscribe to be notified of Southern news as it happens. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.